The Samsung Galaxy S20 and S20 Plus are two of Samsung's newest flagship phones, boasting incredible specs and creating a lot of excitement. Both seem similar at first glance, but in fact have many differences beyond just the screen size. So which is the better buy? From differences in price, colors, 5G capabilities, camera abilities, and more, this video will look into the similarities and differences between these phones, so be sure to stick around to make sure you buy the right one. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're talking about the Galaxy S20 Plus and the Galaxy S20, and I want to compare them, figure out what the differences are to help you decide which one's actually the better one to buy. And I want to start off with the most obvious differences being the physical ones, and of course the biggest one is the size. So the Galaxy S20 Plus has a 6.7-inch screen, while the Galaxy S20 only has a 6.2-inch screen. So for some people that could be better for either way. You could say you want a smaller screen, fits in your pocket better. You could say you want a larger screen for watching more media. But interestingly enough, they actually both have the same pixel count. So they're both 3200 by 1440, which technically means that the pixel density is slightly better on the Galaxy S20. But realistically, you won't notice that when you're watching videos. They both have excellent displays. They're both very bright, very vibrant, and they really are, classic Samsung displays. Now, of course, some of the similarities here, they both have this exact same center hole punch camera on the top. They both have the in-display fingerprint sensor. They both have the same buttons, the same, pretty much everything on the phones looks very similar until we get to the camera bumps on the back. Now, they both have the same three main shooting cameras, so the ultra-wide, the wide-angle, and the telephoto. Exactly the same cameras, but the Galaxy S20 Plus has those two depth cameras, which enable you to do several things I'll talk about later on in the video, but that's really the extent of the physical differences. After that, you'll see that you can't tell anything different when looking at these phones. Now, the battery life is also a difference with these phones, so the larger phone here, the S20 Plus, actually has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, and I'll test that out in a minute to see how long it actually lasts. And then we have right here, the S20 has a 4000 milliamp hour battery. So you lose 500 milliamp hours, but the screen is significantly smaller. So how does this actually compare when it comes to screen time? Let's test that out. So for this test, we will max out the brightness and turn off adaptive brightness. You can see what the battery levels are at right now. And when we go into settings, I'll turn on 120 hertz for both of these. And again, they have very similar settings. So in YouTube, I will just find a walking tour video. We're going to play this for about 1 hour and see how the batteries actually change. So off the bat, 6:34 a.m., 95% on the S20 and 84% on the S20 Plus. So now the only thing we have to do, as you can see, similar settings, the only thing we have to do now is just wait for the hour. Now, I made sure that no ads came on, and these were both playing exactly the same videos for this entire time, so that the screens were really going through exactly the same test. So then after 1 hour, I paused the video and checked the battery, and you can see that they both dropped exactly 11%, which means that you really shouldn't be expecting any different performance between these phones with regards to battery. You'll also notice that the camera bump is only slightly larger on the Galaxy S20 Plus, but it doesn't stick out any farther. So they have essentially the same camera wobble when you set it on a table and it wobbles back and forth. The next big difference that everybody will notice almost immediately is the price difference. So the Galaxy S20 Plus is an extra $200, coming in at $1,200 compared to the $1,000 that you'll be spending for the Galaxy S20. So talking about the depth sensing camera, what can you actually do with that? Now, if you go into AR Zone, there's an app that's on here, augmented reality is really what it's based around, you'll see that both phones have capabilities for like an AR emoji. You can have AR doodle when you draw around in free space. They have quick measure. Quick measure is pretty much equally inaccurate for both of them. I don't really use it for much because it tends to be wrong most of the time. And then as you go down, you'll see that really the only difference in all of these is the 3D scanner that you have with the Galaxy S20 Plus. So it could be fun to use this. Let's try it out right now and scan my cactus. So what we want to do in AR Zone is go to 3D scanner and say, okay, get started. And you want to have a non-reflective object, and it needs to be on a surface that has a very definite base. So this carpet works just fine, and then this pot is not reflective, so it definitely works. And all you have to do then is tap on the little cube there, and it'll start scanning. So let's go around and scan this cactus. So overall, this did a pretty good job. It has definitely the right shape and color of the pot and the cactus itself, except I think it got a little bit weird about the spikes on the cactus, so the resolution on this is not perfect, of course. The pot itself doesn't really especially look great either, but if you're trying to scan like a 3D object and send it to somebody else that you want to, I don't know, communicate ideas, maybe if you're in some kind of like engineering project, this maybe could be useful for that. Otherwise, it could just be fun to like scan each other's faces maybe. I think that would be a fun thing to do with this. But I can't say it's especially useful, and for me at least, I don't know if that alone is worth the extra $200. 3D scanning, however, is not the only thing that the depth sensor is used for. Now, if you open up your camera and go to live focus or live focus video, you'll notice that this is actually a pretty significant difference as well. So if we go into just live focus photo right here, and if you're taking a picture of a face, they both use digital detection of the edges on a face. They know what a face pretty much should look like, and they're able to blur the background behind the face. Now, if you're taking a picture of something that is not a face, for example, Galaxy Buds right here, then you'll see that if I take a picture holding the Galaxy Buds, the S20 Plus is able to identify that they're close to the camera and detect that they are the subject. So both my hand and the Galaxy Buds are in focus and the background is blurred. And I turned both of these up to maximum blur on live focus view, so it should look like this. Now, if we look at the Galaxy S20, you'll see that this is not the case. In fact, it wasn't able to detect the subject. It obviously focused on where I tapped in the middle, but it wasn't able to find the lines and blur the background. Now, you might notice that the background is somewhat blurred, not nearly as blurred as we expected, and that is actually just the natural blur of the large aperture on the main camera. So f1.8 on the camera means that you're going to have a pretty large compression there, so the background will become blurry and things farther away will be even more blurry. A big technical difference that I haven't talked about yet is actually the 5G between these phones. So if you're buying this phone and you live in an area that it has 5G, your phone plan has 5G, then you definitely want to know this difference. So there are two types of 5G. There's the sub 6 gigahertz range, which is slightly faster than LTE. It's on the order of maybe 20% faster than good LTE, and that's kind of on a good day. It's not always faster. And then the other side of 5G is actually the millimeter waves, which are the ones that are significantly faster. You can have like 1.5 gigabytes download speed and just ridiculous numbers when you're working with that. Now, this is the difference. The Galaxy S20 only has the sub 6 gigahertz 5G, whereas the S20 Plus has both versions of 5G capabilities, which means that if you want the best speeds, you really will have to be getting the S20 Plus. And that's really a big difference if you live in an area that has very fast 5G. And as 5G starts to roll out more in the next year or two, it could be a pretty big game changer between these two models. Another difference is actually the colors available for these phones. So depending where you look, I know Best Buy has the S20 Plus in Aura Blue, but they don't have the S20 in that color. And then if you go on Samsung's website, they actually say that you cannot get Cosmic Black for the Galaxy S20, but you can get it for the S20 Plus. And on top of that, you may or may not be able to get Cloud Pink on the S20 Plus. So depending on where you are, check out the colors. I'll put a link in the description to where you can buy them if you want to go see the latest colors, because sometimes Samsung has been known to add more colors maybe like a month or 2 months after release. So this is subject to change. So when it comes down to it, which is actually the better phone to buy? Now, these are both very similar in almost every regard, but the big differences, of course, are the size of the screen, the extra depth sensing cameras, the 5G, and the extra features on board that you get with the S20 Plus. So if you're looking for the better value, obviously saving $200 for a couple features that are, the really fringe features that most people might not even use makes a lot of sense. But I think a lot of people buying flagship phones aren't necessarily looking for the best value. If you're looking for the absolute bang for your buck, you'd probably be looking at like the Pixel 3a or something along those lines. Now, people that are looking at flagship phones generally want a larger screen, the best cameras, and everything of that nature, so it could be a tie. It really comes down to what's more comfortable in your hand and in your pocket. For me, I would say I like the Galaxy S20 Plus. The larger screen's very nice to have, and I have fairly large hands, so it works out pretty well. And having the ability to connect with the millimeter wave 5G is pretty cool. Although I will say I probably won't be using the depth sensing cameras all that much. Now, if you have smaller hands, I think you're really not missing out on a whole lot by going with the Galaxy S20, the regular one. So that would be my recommendation to you. So comment down below, let me know which one you like better and why. This was a relatively brief comparison because these really are pretty similar phones. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you all guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.